Hi, you guys. Welcome back to here for the Instagram followers Bachelorette podcast. I'm Maritza.
And I'm Willow.
And we will be talking about week 11. It's week 11, right? Yeah, week 11, the hometown week.
Hometown week. Also, funny thing, when we say week 11, it's not actually been 11 weeks that they've been on the show at this point. It's only been about 30 days, we find out from this episode. So I do want to make that very clear going into this. And Chris Harrison basically opens up the hometown dates by saying that hometown dates are going to be held here this time on La Quinta property, and the guys are basically going to have to invent their date and come up with something special for Tayshia that will give them the vibe of the hometown. And then he reads out what family is currently quarantining for the guys, which I don't know if you've ever seen the show Survivor. Have you seen that show?
I know of the show. I've
CBS?
never seen it.
So in Survivor, hosted by Jeff Probst, at the towards the end of the season, when they're getting down to the last 5 or 6 people, they bring on family, and it's kind of like the hometown family vibe. So you get to know a little bit more about them, and also they've been going through this very grueling process. They need a little pick-me-up, which is basically the same situation with The Bachelor. And this gave me the same vibe of you've been here trying to survive, and we're gonna allow you the opportunity to see 2 family members, but it's not gonna be like necessarily the people you want to see. It was definitely weird. It definitely felt very starved and isolated.
Yeah, I felt the same way too, only because a lot of these people, they didn't even have Noah, his parents couldn't even come through, and because of how his dad's a doctor, so instead his sister
was Ben, right? You said Noah. Noah ain't on the Noah's not on the season.
Why did I put Noah? Yes,
Ben. You're talking about Ben, because it was Zach, his mom, dad, and his brother came, and then Ivan had both of his parents come, and then Ben, his sister, and family friend came, and that was
hold on. I got a quick thing. The family friend I saw, I was just seeing an Instagram post on it. How I guess it's Antonia, and she was on Top Chef and Master Chef.
I heard she won Top Chef. So we have a reality TV star queen on our show here, who's also apparently a Bachelor super fan.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay, Bachelor producers, I see you.
I was like, you do look like you could whip up a good vodka sauce, though. So
period, yeah.
And then Brandon had his older brother, who was really a father figure for him growing up, come. And then he also has his sister-in-law and his niece come. And he, his niece, the person he's talked about her on the show this whole season, saying she's very important to him. And then this was really sweet, which I loved. Zach pulled out a rehab leader moment where he said, "Let's all hug it out, guys." And he said, "Real men cry." And I'm like, I love this. I
feel like we needed that, mostly because people are always oh, guys don't cry, oh, we don't hug or anything like that. Just this little bromance moment right here. I appreciate it. Especially seeing how close this is to ending. I don't know. It was much needed for sure.
Definitely. Again, Bachelorette, progressive conversations are being had, and I love it. Brendan's hometown date. We're getting into this one. Tayshia said she feels really confident going into it with Brendan, but she really needs that validation from him that he's there and he's giving it his all and his heart's in the right place. And then this was funny. I thought it was funny that Tayshia was so out of breath from running over. When she runs up to the date, she shows up and she's like, "Hey!" And I'm like, is it the 120-degree heat? I feel you. Someone get this one.
Let me talk about the 120-degree heat, though. Tell me why in every single, I didn't want to get this into this so early, but I just have to say it. Why in every single day, every guy was dripping sweat.
They were waterfalls.
He was
because they're not allowed to have the AC on because it creates too much background noise. Just think about us right now, right? Like filming this, we don't have a lot of background noise going on in the background. You know, an
No.
AC, when it's so hot out, it's going to create so much noise. I think that's why when we saw Zach's family date, they were all like literally sweating their asses off.
No, literally, Zach was like dripping. I kid you not, dripping and kissing
He was
Tayshia.
sweating
And I
so
was like,
much he pushed her in the fountain just so he could have some relief, bro.
exactly. And like now that I think about it, like that was like that's why you did that, because y'all were like sweating everything over there.
Sweating your balls up. Anyway, so yeah. Can I just say this? I did not like Brendan's hometown date in the sense of like, really, ABC? Okay. He wanted to do a cute carnival thing, which that's cute, and I like the idea, but in terms of production value, terrible. In terms of effort compared to the other dates, not as good. And do you remember when they had a literal entire fair set up for Zach and Tayshia, and he like dropped his rose off the top? That was a whole carnival. Why don't you just
That
bring them
literally
back?
was a Ferris wheel, and they had ring toss and Dollar Tree stuffed animals.
And there was like only 2 stuffed animals to choose from. And
They're
I'm like, are
which
you?
one do you want? I don't know. I guess the one
I'm
that's
like,
left.
just take both of them. You're the only one there.
I mean, we have to like say, so in this, so they do a little carnival day representing like the summers in a small hometown, and they're joined by his niece Aaliyah, which I mean, it's so sweet. Like Tayshia finally meets her, and
It
like
was a
it really
date kind of tailored
shows
to her, little girl.
exactly, and like so she was having fun and stuff, and like they were all like basically bonding with her, and like it really showed. Like Tayshia was saying how it really showed how Brendan can be an amazing father, and like that's what he wants to be. And then yeah, oh, and their little cool handshake, we can't forget the little cool handshake moment.
Can't forget it. And then we have basically Brendan meeting and Tayshia meeting Brendan's family. And this was when she shared the funny story of how basically with the lie detector test, Brendan failed questions when it regarded and meeting her family and meeting and like her meeting his family. And his you know, his sister-in-law and his brother were kind of like, oh, okay, you know.
Yeah, we didn't expect this. Like, oh, okay, hot tea.
Yeah, and then you know, Brendan starts talking with his brother, and he really goes into not wanting to get divorced again. And meanwhile, Tayshia's talking with the sister-in-law about her previous marriage. And then, you know, Brendan's brother says that he can tell that Brendan and her really do have a connection, and that just their physical touch when they were walking in holding hands was really, you know, it was really sweet, and it's what he thinks of when he envisions Brendan's perfect woman.
Exactly.
And I thought that
and
was pretty cool.
I feel like I think the divorce subject really came into light in this conversations too, especially like Brendan asking his brother like, hey, do you think I'm ready to like get out there again and like get married again? And then he was like, honestly, yeah, I do think you are ready for marriage, which was kind of a validation that kind of know that Brendan doesn't have, well, I don't know, maybe he still might have like thoughts, like maybe, but
Brendan seems insecure in some aspects from what I saw at the end of this episode of our looking ahead to next week. I honestly don't feel as confident on Brendan now in like our final 3 lineup we've been having as I had previously about where he's gonna fall. I definitely thought Brendan, frankly, was gonna be our number 1 winner in the end of all of this, and now I'm feeling like he might not be necessarily.
he just doesn't have like the same amount of like confidence in getting married.
He has
as, like, the other guys.
hesitance.
Yeah, there we go. Like I see it
Hesitance.
and like I feel it, and I don't know
You
if
can see it in his eyes. It's like just
Yeah.
like his face says it.
Yeah. It's
Whereas,
just-
you know, I see it with like Zach even a little bit too.
oh,
I feel like I see it. Okay. But anyways, continuing. That was a very harsh but, and I didn't mean for it to be that harsh. But
But
Basically, Tayshia then was asking Brendan's brother when she had a chance to talk to him if she thought that he was ready for marriage. And he literally said, ask me a few years ago, and he would say no. But now he says yes. And I'm like, again, the right conversations to be having, because just think of how many people do get married and divorce and married and divorce and married and divorce and don't have
Ross
those
Geller.
internalized conversations with themselves.
Exactly. Like, I don't know, I was saying like Ross Geller, like no one wants to be Ross from Friends because they're getting divorced every single time and getting married. And so I'm like, yeah, like that just, it takes a harsh toll on you mentally.
Yeah, and also on your pocket, your pocketbook. Basically, though, at the end of this, Tayshia does say that she feels very reassured. She got out of the day what she needed to, and she could see Brendan standing next to her at the end of this, and she can see herself marrying him.
Do we know if anyone, I don't know if I caught this, but did either Brendan or Tayshia said like they were falling in love with each other yet?
I think that I'm trying to remember. I think Tayshia has said in a little side off thing that she thinks she's falling in love with Brendan, or she could see herself falling in love with Brendan. I think in terms of Brendan's communication toward Tayshia, I think he said like, I can see myself falling in love with you. It's more of like that picturing. But that's the same level that Ivan's on too. Ivan hasn't actually said that he loves her yet.
Yeah.
I think only Zach is the only one that's been like, yeah, I love you.
Yeah, exactly.
So he does have confidence in that aspect.
I think Ivan told his mom, he was like, I think I'm falling in love with her.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. But
you can have that, I think, and you can be like, oh yeah, I'm in love with her, like a few days later. That can progress very quickly. Yeah. Then we move on to Zach's hometown. And basically, I liked Zach's hometown date. I thought this was very cute. Did not know he was a New York boy. And he brought New York culture into his hometown date by teaching Tayshia how to hail a taxi cab.
The production really, really went up on this, having like the whole like display mural of like Central Park. And then like I feel like it really kicked up a notch after Brendan.
Yeah, we have the display mural of the Central Park. We have a little taxi that they hail and drive around between their, destinations, which was so cute. They what was it? They went to the bagel stand first, and they had a bunch of random toppings. Like, are they having frozen yogurt or bagels? There was gummy bears on that table. Gummy bears have no place on a bagel.
I mean, Zach had really strong feelings against blueberries on bagels.
And then they take the little taxi on over to a pizza place, and they enjoyed pizza like true New Yorkers, but also it looked nasty. What pizza was this?
This was not New York pizza. We just know. Let me just say, it's probably Little Caesars. I'm not gonna lie.
They're out in La Quinta in the middle of the pandemic. Let's be honest. It's like frozen pizza.
Exactly.
It looked like a Trader Joe's frozen pizza they just threw in the oven.
Honestly, I'm just like, this is not like, you're really discrediting the real New York pizza, which I mean, I've never had it, but people say it's like bomb.
They go on and on about it. I'm like, this is a shame.
Exactly.
Then they pop into the taxi and go on to Central Park, and I'm like, oh, this is funny to me because the only way they would have been able to do all of this is like actually like realistically, I feel like, is at La Quinta, because they're missing out on the New York traffic.
There you go.
They don't need to go to the little bagel shop over here, to the special little pizza shop over here. I know pizza and bagels everywhere in New York, but you know what I mean.
Bro, they would have taken, instead of like 3 stops, it would have taken 3 days to go through all of the little stops right there.
So then they basically go and decide that it's a good idea to lay down in the fountain and make out.
Yeah, basically. Which I totally forgot that Zach was the one who did the lucky tokens. Like when Tayshia, do you remember that? When like Tayshia, the night one, Tayshia came in and like, I didn't know it was Zach until now. I realized when he like talked about it. and like they sat down at the fountain, and he was like, if we
That's
make a
right, the
wish,
2 little coins.
yeah, like we make a wish and we like throw it, and like that's what some of your wishes, and like yeah.
That's
I was
right. I
like,
do remember that. That's cute. That's like a little bringing it back to the fountain. That's sweet.
exactly. And then we
I-
go to the little family meeting in the evening after the whole
Yeah,
name
and
session.
Zach's dad is old, and his brother is equally as old. I thought his brother was his dad. I'm sorry, but I'ma just say it.
No, I thought so too. I was like, wait, okay, so like really said like, and then that I guess that's what kind of made me remember like, oh yeah, Zach isn't in his 20s like most of these guys.
Zach's dad then asked about how they started hitting it off, and Tayshia said that it was their first one-on-one date when they had their little photo shoot, and said that they like really hit it off. They just felt really comfortable, had a lot of fun. And then Zach's brother Matt pulls Tayshia away, and can I just say this? His brother gave me like cop energy.
Yes,
You
he was
okay?
being
You
very,
felt
like,
that too.
like cop interrogation kind of-
Interrogator energy.
yeah, I was like, oh, okay, like
His whole family was very hard. They were all very like formal, you know?
yeah, they are like real big skeptics because like I mean they're an older generation. I mean I would expect that they're like
That's true.
marrying someone you met 2 weeks, like that's nothing, like that's
Yeah.
No, but I'm like
Yeah. And then Zach's brother, you know, he even asked, he's like, you know, where are you at in the process, and where's Tayshia at with the other 3 guys, you know? And Tayshia then, this was actually something I really liked. Tayshia said that she was falling in love with Zach, definitely, and his brother was like, you didn't answer my question. Like,
and then the
where are you
awkward
at
pause.
compared to the other guys?
Yeah.
You know, are you just stringing him along, or are you actually into him?
Yeah, which I mean I feel like every parent has asked that in like each of these hometowns. Like I mean I remember in Peter's season, I don't know what parent and what person it was, but I remember that question being asked too, is like, you didn't answer my question. Like, how do you love my daughter compared to like the rest of these girls?
Well, I definitely think at this point too, with this show, you know, this show's been airing for so long that everyone knows a little bit about it at this point. I feel like we don't have as many naive parents coming on the show anymore, not knowing anything about it. And they're a lot more skeptical, where they're like, this doesn't usually work. They usually break up, you know. So, like, genuinely, and we've seen it time and time again too, where people like Ari's season, he got with Becca and then he left her for Lauren. So it's like, how can you even be sure if they're even sure of themselves and their decision making process? So I think it's totally a legit question that should be asked by every family on the show. Like, are you being genuine with yourself, and like, where are you actually at?
Yeah, I mean, I think Zach's parents were like real big skeptics. I know Ivan's parents too, which we'll get on like later, but like Ivan's parents also really big skeptics.
I loved Ivan's parents though.
I think Ivan's was my favorite hometown for sure.
It was the most natural.
Yeah. It just felt so nice, but yeah, I mean, I think back to like the whole Zach date though, Zach family hometown thingy. They mentioned how they were big skeptics about it, but they saw like they've never seen Zach this happy in a long time, and like Tayshia says it feels right and easy with him, so like they feel confident with her in that aspect.
Yeah. Zach's totally smitten by her, and you know, I think Tayshia nailed every single one of these days with these families. She won everybody over. Everyone loves her. She just has that charismatic energy, which I think leads us into Ivan's hometown date. Ivan reveals that Tayshia is like the second person he's ever brought home to meet his family. And I loved this date though. I loved the concept. Oh my gosh.
It was so cute, so natural. It just like we didn't even need the production value. Like it was just,
and it
great.
was probably the lowest production value of the dates, but it was so natural, and it's just their organic connection and their like great dynamic. which we also did see with their other date. Their first date was also
Mhm.
casual. It was like the stay-at-home game night kind of thing. And I
it's
feel
like
like
really like realistic like dates. Like, oh yeah,
totally.
when we get married, we're gonna be cooking together. We're gonna be having movie nights together. Like, it's just something to like, I guess, prepare yourself for. And like, it just seemed so natural for them to like. I don't know. That's why he's just in my top, and I'm just like, yes, Ivan.
Totally. I'm so happy that he's made it this far. Usually, like, the quieter guys don't make it this far, but Ivan's quiet, but he's so genuine and sweet, and like he's an underdog for sure. He's
For
been an
sure.
underdog for sure.
No, yeah.
Love Ivan. And then he was also dripping in sweat this whole time though. His shirt was like speckled in it, and I was like, I didn't think it could get worse from Zach. And
No.
then it did.
And then
And
it
I was
was
like,
just I was like, I mean, so they were cooking Filipino food, right? And I mean, I think in the end, I don't know if they liked the taste or not of the Filipino food. I don't know. Did you catch what they were cooking? Like, I didn't catch the name.
I don't know, but it looked really yummy.
It looked good, but then I guess like they took the bite. I don't know if the bite was like hot or it was actually disgusting, but like if it actually was disgusting, it was a sweat mixed in with it, probably.
One thing that literally had me almost spitting my drink out was, Tasha saying that she was just saw how Ivan was melting watching his niece. And I was like, yeah, he's literally melting like a
He's
snowman
literally
all
He's
over the
literally
apartment.
melting like the Wicked Witch of the West. Me doing Wizard of Oz references all the time, but like
I'm
literally
melting.
ah. But no, but
Literally.
I love the little video thing of his niece. Like, he's mentioned how he kind of basically raised her when his brother was in prison, and
Yeah.
it just I was also impressed. I was this 5-year old. Oh no, not five. She's like 4.5. I was this almost 5-year old cooking better than me. Like, how?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I loved having his niece on. That was really sweet. They danced, and then Ivan said that he was really hoping that his brother could make it, especially because his brother's been a super influential person in his life, but at least his mom and dad were there. And then, of course, later on, we get a little surprise, but let's not get into that
Yeah.
a little too far ahead of myself here.
Yeah. I mean, he said that his parents came in, like, they tried their best to come in, and like how his dad, with all his health complications, literally COVID is a death sentence for his dad, and how he literally like risked it all to be coming in for support his son. And I was like, wow, that's really beautiful, even though it's just a show, but that was really sweet.
Yeah, and then Tasha says that she's nervous meeting his parents, but of course she kills it. And then meeting his parents, his mom is like such a sweet little Filipino woman. I love her. Which I totally see how Chris Harrison gave us that little like interlude where he was like, I love your mom, Ivan. So of course we're all waiting to see what she was like, and she totally is amazing. Um
Checked
and
all my boxes.
yes, and Ivan has a wonderful relationship with his mother, always a good sign. And he says that he usually talks to his mom like all the time and like pretty much every day. And that not seeing each other for the last month has been hard. And that was the key thing that I noticed was the last, I think they literally said 28 days, which is confirmation that since Ivan has left, started quarantining, and gone on the show through the Claire and Tasha process, it's been 28 days.
Ivan's parents both were like, yeah, this is too fast. And like,
yeah, and Ivan's mom says she's really skeptical of the fast process. She makes that very clear, and I really liked her being really open with that, not just with Ivan, but also with Tasha. She literally said it straight up to her face. She was like, this makes me skeptical. And, that's when Tasha steps up and she's like, yeah, it's been a wild ride. And like, I know though that this process works. And she talks about how she knows you can find something genuine through this process as long as you're open and honest with yourself. And she kept reinstating again that, the true path to success is literally only by being honest and reflective with yourself. Because if you're not being like seriously self-evaluating and perception checking, you're gonna just fail. Yeah. And then we go on to Ivan talking with his mom, I believe.
Yeah.
And it was, again, they were talking about the whole genuine thing. And this brings us to my favorite part of this, which was Ivan's dad's conversation with Tasha. Do you want to lead us into that?
Yes, he talks about how he has also been divorced as well. And
Mhm.
like he talks about how he got married too young, and like he asked Tasha like how like what age she got married, like how long did it last and stuff. And like he talks to her and tells her like he didn't make sure like for sure 100% for sure like this woman was the one because it was his second marriage, and like that's how like he ended up with Ivan's mom right now. Like they've been together
Mhm.
for I think he said 50 years.
I mean, it's
Might
something
be.
like 50 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, geez, like I don't know, like it's some advice to give to Tasha for sure. But
Hmm.
like Tasha trust the process, like she says, but like she says, like it she needs to be a little more like hesitant because it is her second marriage.
Definitely. But Tasha did a really good job at being confident about her response. And she did a really good job about really reassuring his dad and like saying the right thing. And just basically being like, I did that work. And he was like, have you done this work? She's like, yes, I have. Like, straight up. She's like,
Mhm.
I've done the self reflection and I've done the growing, and it's been a while. She's not just jumping into this right away. It's not like she's fresh out of that marriage. And then he does say, that when he did get married himself, he was 24 and his wife was 20. So it's definitely too young. And I think Tasha was also like 23 or 22 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So I really liked that they could relate on that level and have that really honest conversation. And this is when Ivan said something that was had my ears perk up. He says to his
Yes.
mom that he's not ready to propose to Tasha yet.
And it's a week left.
Yeah. I think he was basing his decision largely on having not met Tasha's family,
Mhm.
but that's definitely still alarming. But we're hearing similar things, I think, from Brendan. He said the same thing of like not necessarily being ready to propose at the end of this. That's been his fear this whole time, and Tasha's. I think even Zach has said something at one point about it. It's definitely like
Yeah.
on people's minds.
No, yeah, for sure. And I mean, Ben, um that was one of the issues that he felt like he just wouldn't give his emotions out. So like he also is like spreading out like that, like proposing at the end of this, like that's scary. Like that's really, really soon.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, God, I can't blame them. I don't have a fear of commitment, but if I was on this show, I would. Like, it would give me
Bro,
one.
yeah. Like, yikes. Like you're competing against all these men. Literally, like these men are falling in love at the same time that you're falling in love. Like,
And it's not like you're expected to just get engaged. You're engaged on television. Everyone in America is following this. People all around like Canada and the US watch this show. It's, you're gaining thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of followers from it. It gives you a platform, it gives you a voice. And now everybody gets to watch your breakup, your inevitable breakup, or you pussy out and not be able to step up to the plate and propose. And that's a whole other can of worms right there, and a whole other load of issues, because then you're just going to lose and everyone's going to think you're not like a true man.
exactly. And I think we saw that a lot in last Peter season when he wanted to like propose to Madison. Basically like Madison was his choice, and like Madison was like, yeah, I can't do this. But like it wasn't a lot about a commitment, I guess more about like him having relations with like other people. And
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, but I mean, and then like Hannah Ann, like how he ends up marrying Hannah Ann, but then like breaks up with Hannah Ann because like well, Hannah breaks up with him because like he's like still
He wasn't man enough or whatever.
yeah, basically. And like I think like that's a fear that a lot of these guys can have too, is that Tasha might be falling in love with me, but like she's also falling in love with all these other guys. And like what if at the end she might end up marrying me, but still is in love with these other guys? Like there's that.
Yeah. And then my favorite person of the week, Ivan's brother shows up and he pulls through and he comes in, and Ivan was so emotional, and I really liked this. His brother's name is Gabe, and we should refer him by Gabe. Gabe introduces himself to Tasha, and I really liked how he took the time to like really just give her a formal look her in the eyes, shook her hand, gave her a hug, said hi. She seemed really excited to meet him, and I really liked this interaction initially.
Yeah.
Well, I liked in the end too.
No, yeah. The initially the end, the whole thing. I loved his entire like mellow, like kind of spiritual vibe, kind of like it just and like even Ivan was saying how like if my brother knows basically the best, like he can read people really well.
Totally.
So like he will know if like she's right for me. And like I mean they had this conversation like I don't know if you want to go into like their conversation like alone. Like I don't know. I really loved him.
Yeah, I loved him. And can I just bring this up again? Again, the diversity this season. We've had suicide conversations, we've had all of this, and now we have somebody on the show who was previously incarcerated, who has been in the system, is on there, face tats and all, and his family is proud of him. They love him. They support him just the same as anyone else. And I'm like, that is like truly the power of family. That is the power of love, and that's just like true.
I mean,
That
for
is like the
sure.
family you want to marry into, you know?
Like he was Tasha was like, I heard so much about you, and then Gabe he was like, oh, probably all the bad parts, and then
And
Tasha was like,
Tasha's like,
oh
no, not
no,
at all.
yeah, like no, not at all, and then I think that I don't know if he said something else, but I know like his mother was like, yeah, but we get through that together because we're a family. We get through that stuff together, and I was like, that's powerful. That's some powerful stuff right there. Like that's when you
Yeah,
know.
and his brother actually said something that was really powerful too, where he said like, I'm on the wave and my family's riding it with me, you know? And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, dude, like your family is like, we don't choose your family, but you know, your family's, when it's a good one, your family's always going to be there for you and support you and love you, and like, you know, recognize that you're human and we make mistakes, and that's part of it, and that's part of our growth pattern. And I just think that again, having this conversation and not having his family seem like they're disappointed in him at all, or they're embarrassed by having him there. They're like, no, this is like, his mom's like, this is my son, you know, and it's his brother's like, yeah, like Ivan's like, this is my brother. I love him. He's one of the most influential people in my life. I love his daughter. I'm always going to be there for him. And basically, like, take it or leave it. You know, like, this is who, like, this is my baggage. And like, they just come with me. This is it. And I'm like, yeah, like, that's what Tasha needs to see. That's open, honest. And he's putting it all out there, which I think is why going into Ben's hometown date, it felt very different, and it felt very
Yeah.
obvious that there was like
The
stuff not being talked about.
vulnerability scales are like super off. Like you have Ivan up here and how vulnerable he is, and then there's Ben. Ben's like, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, are we ready to go into Ben's?
Oh wait,
There's
hold on,
not much.
hold on.
I
No,
mean,
no, wait. Yeah, no, wait, hold on. So they go talk. Gabe, they go talk with Tasha. They have really good conversations. Gabe says that they're a good match. Then Tasha leaves. And Ivan says he's falling in love with her.
Ivan, yeah, he says he's falling in love with Tasha. And I did say in the end of this game, do you think it will be too little too late?
I don't know.
Makes me nervous.
It's just this, like I've said before, it's just how fast this whole entire process has become. Like,
Yeah, I feel like we'd be clowns if we're just sitting here. We're like, oh, well, is it too little, too late from him? Okay, realistically, let's take a step back. I would not be ready to propose or get engaged with somebody in that short amount of time, especially when you have had 2 bachelorettes roll through. Like, let's be realistic here.
Like, yikes. That's just.
This is the process. It's the show. Don't.
That's a whole period cycle right there. Like.
Yeah.
What?
I just realized something. They're supposed to get engaged to a person that they theoretically have not spent enough time with to even be with during like an entire cycle. That's crazy.
Yikes.
Hey,
Ben.
So, Ben, we have a Venice Beach boardwalk date. And I was like, oh, sweet. So it's Venice Beach minus the homeless people, minus the trash, minus the seagulls. Got it.
So like Venice Beach, imagine Disneyland.
Yeah. And I will say this. It was definitely a contrast between Ivan, who that just dynamic is so open and vulnerable, to Ben, who feels very closed off and a little bit more awkward. And, you know, they're rollerblading around, which I did think was cute. They were rollerblading from, where'd they start? They started at a juice bar to take shots, which I would so not be into. I'd be like, take your, like, SoCal, California ass out of here and, like, give me some actual shots. Like,
yeah.
Come on.
None of this green juice stuff. No.
Ginger shots, not into that right now.
No.
God, try and they're supposed to kiss after that, like. Ew. So then they rollerblade, like 5 feet away to a like hat stand and like a character stand where there's like a pre-done character drawing of them, and I'm like, okay, who did this? When was it done? Did the producers like give a character drawing like some pictures of them? It was like, yeah,
I think that I was about to say that. I was like, I think that they just like gave this person and this person just like, and just told like the guys like, yeah, just put them together and like we'll pay you for whatever you make us.
Or is there like a secret producer who knows how to draw caricatures? Like, or is Brendan in the corner like secretly really good at them and they just asked him to do it, and he's like, okay guys, I have nothing else to do.
I'm waiting around for Tayshia to say she loves me.
Yeah. So, you know, teamwork, right? Producing the show. They're short-staffed, you know, COVID times. You gotta get creative.
COVID times is desperate times.
Yeah, desperate times call for desperate measures. Period. And then they rollerblade to the beach, aka the same La Quinta pool we've seen so many times over this semester, with a sign saying this is the beach.
Lovely. I think they put some sand in there, but no, they didn't even put sand.
No, they didn't even give the effort of like making it like a sandbox, nice little beach wave pool vibe. Nothing.
Nah, they're like, no.
They're like, yeah, all of the budgets for these dates they're like sub $1,000. So there's not much we can do.
No, not at all.
Not even a fireworks show, dude. Like,
wow. The least they could do. Like,
yeah, and then there were clearly, here's something. We missed the footage of them swimming around because then they were having a really like honest conversation by the pool, I guess. And Tayshia's hair was all curly, like it had been wet, and you can tell like Ben's hair was drying off. I'm like, where was that footage? Like, there's so much of the season they've just cut out and omitted.
Yeah, I was like, I want to see them playing and like having fun and stuff. Like, I'm interested in that.
Where's the goofy side of their relationship?
Exactly.
Does it exist? What's the dynamic like? Is it awkward? Like, these are the things we need to know.
I just see them having like forced deep conversations and then some laughs, mostly making out.
Yeah. So then Ben basically explains to Tayshia that he hasn't been this happy in a long time. And he said that his parents will be happy to see him happy. And then Tayshia tells Ben that, you know, he makes her happy. And I was like, wait, why is Ben talking about his parents being happy to see him happy when he knows his parents aren't coming?
Yeah.
I don't know. That was kind of weird. And I was just really kind of bothered by the fact that his parents weren't there at all. Like they didn't even try to set like a Zoom call or like a FaceTime.
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, I thought like, you know, how Gabe had like the surprise like visit. I thought his parents would all be like, surprise, like we're kind of here, like meet me on Zoom, but like they
Yeah.
didn't make an effort. So I was
And they
like,
didn't really say much about it. And you could kind of tell like Tasha seemed wigged out in a way. Like not in a way where she was like, oh, this is like necessarily make or break, but in a way where she was like, oh, she's supposed to be getting engaged to this guy and she doesn't even know what his parents look like. She doesn't know what the dynamic is, what the vibe is. How are like that's so important. That's like going to dictate the entirety of the future of your relationship. If there's a weird parental dynamic, that's going to be funky to have kids. Every holiday is going to be funky. You know, you need to make sure that you can mesh not just with that person. When you marry one person, you marry their whole family.
exactly.
You know, you need to make sure you're ready to take that whole family on.
Like he talks a lot about his sister, which like we love appreciating her sister and all, but like his sister is not the only person like he grew up with, that he lived with, that he was raised by.
Well, this makes me wonder, was he raised in a family where he kind of, I have a lot of feelings on Ben here with this part. Was he raised in a family where he and his sister kind of didn't get much attention from their parents at all, and they felt like they really just had to rely on one another kind of for survival and support? Because it seems like they really have relied on one another just for emotional support, even into their adulthood.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, yeah. Also, the other aspect of this was that Tasha seemed like his sister and like her friend knew her. Like they watched the show. And
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm like, I feel like this was a scheme to get Ben on the show. And this is why I'm getting into my Ben was only here for Instagram followers rants, because I think he was mostly there just for Instagram followers. Okay, so Ben originally signed up for the show, right, for Claire, like the oldest Bachelorette. And I'm like, you know, he doesn't seem like he would like even work with her remotely. He's already 9 years younger than Claire was to begin with. And that was who he was originally going on for, knowingly for Claire. And then, you know, as soon as Tasha comes on, it's like, oh, that's convenient. She's like 29. She's much more his speed, much more his pace. And here's the thing, though. His Instagram follower count is so high in comparison to all the other people on the show. Ben's currently sitting at 349,000 followers compared to our other finalists, where we have Brendan at 222,000 followers. We have Zach at 97,000 followers and Ivan at 96.7. So, like, Ben, what's different about him that's like giving him so much more in comparison? I don't know. I'm like,
his body.
You think it's just, but that's the thing. He comes on the, okay, here's my other aspect of it. Is he ready for marriage, and is he emotionally in a secure enough place to endure that kind of next step? Because like he still seems like he's kind of restarting. I mean, he has had suicide attempts as recent as like 2018 and 2019 and like also 2017, I think. That's pretty, you know, drastic. Like that's recent, and that's pretty like hefty in my opinion. There's a lot there, and I think that there's a lot still that
Needs to be uncovered.
Yeah, I feel like he has a lot of like maturing still and growing still to do with himself and getting to know Ben before he
unfinished business.
Yeah, definitely. There's just he's not there yet. He's not ready for marriage, in my opinion. Antonia was talking with Ben, and she asks him if, you know, if he's felt like this before with anybody else, and he says he's never felt anything this strong before. Big red flag to me right there. He's never felt anything this strong before. He's been with her for only a few weeks, and he still says he doesn't know if he loves her. And I'm like, so therefore you've never been in love before.
Exactly. And he's what, 30?
30. He's never been in love before,
Yeah.
and he doesn't even know how to identify that emotion, because I think Ben has a lot of complex emotions that really probably, like, you know, if you're someone who deals with depression and anxiety and things like that, you do have a lot of those complex emotions that sometimes you kind of, I feel like, become like numb to certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes, you know, easier or like to kind of miss emotions and like misunderstand things. And I feel like that in terms of falling in love, I feel like maybe Ben's gotten so used to being able to maybe potentially like numb certain emotions or feelings that he's kind of like, oh, a little desensitized and needing to like remember how to feel again.
Yeah.
And like
I mean,
care.
also like that just like also explains like why his walls are all up. And like when Tasha asks Madeline, which is his sister, like about his walls, like, yeah, I still don't feel like super confident with him because like I feel like he still has like those walls up around me. And like Madeline tried to like defend him and say like, oh, like he's already like expressed like all he can to you, like his walls are just like his wall will always be there, like
and I was like, that's a red flag in and of itself. I want a husband personally who's going to be vulnerable and intimate, like emotionally with me.
exactly,
not just physically.
Exactly. And like as much as you can like try to defend that, like that's not what a marriage is supposed to be like be based around. Like
yeah. And this was the alarming part too. There's just so much of this was alarming, but
you know,
Antonia basically talking with him and saying, you know, asking him if she loves him, if he loves her. And he goes, you know, I don't know. And then she goes, yes, you do. You love her. And I'm like, I don't think he loves her. And then he pauses and he's like, yeah, you're right. I think I love her. And I'm like, I
you're
don't
not
think you love her. And it was like, she was so insistent, like, you love her. Like, Ben, trust me. I watched the show. I know how it's supposed to end. You have to say you love her so you can get through to Fantasy Suites Week. Like, say you love her. Come on. You can do it. You love her. And he's like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
like that's just some manipulative things, like, huh?
I know. I was like, and then Ben's going around saying like, "Oh, I didn't realize I loved her. I didn't know it was love until Antonia called me out." And I'm like, because it wasn't. You know if it's love, like you
Bro,
know.
I didn't think about it like that, but now I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, I'm like, that was not love. Like, I know I've been this whole season. I'm like, there's something with Ben that's slightly off. Like, I know you're kind of like, you've been like, oh, I don't know. He seems really, I think this is what it is. He like,
I think that's what it is. You've caught it, man. You've caught it.
he doesn't like, he's there for the followers. I don't think he's ready for marriage. I don't think he's done enough like internal work, emotionally to even be in the right place to like mentally be able to love somebody else right now other than himself. I think right now Ben's very much in a solo place of doing a lot of self work and self growth, and he needs to just keep on that path of like focusing on himself to get better and like to get to the right place.
Wait,
It's
hold on
like,
a second.
oh, sorry.
Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry. That was awkward.
It's all good.
My brother just walking in.
It's all good. All good. What was I saying?
He's here for the Instagram followers.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw that.
No,
so
yeah,
like
Ben needs to do a lot of self-work though before I think he can have the ability to even love somebody. And I don't think he can love someone right now.
No, he can't. He can't even say the word. So like so after like they leave like the whole family and stuff, and he was like, oh yeah, I think I do love her because this person told me I love her, so it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Connecting the dots. So they go outside and sit on the bench, and like Tayshia asks him like how he feels, and like I feel like he wants to tell her like, oh, I'm in love with you, but he like freezes. Like he literally freezes.
Here's
And
the
then,
thing. Saying you love someone should be the easiest thing in the world if you actually love them.
yeah. And like he just kept saying, like speaking on that part, he just kept saying, oh, I just like it's easy, like it's just easy. And like I felt like Tayshia was like waiting for him to say,
She was. She literally paused and she left like the perfect gap, and like she practically set up the sentences for him, and he didn't take the sentence starter.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, but he left that pause. He literally left that pause. She left that pause for him, and like he just like stood there, and it was just so the tension was so awkward, and it was just like, can we cut to the next scene, please? Just cut the next scene. And she just like walked
Yeah.
away, and like the thing her walk away was just like, yeah, I'm gonna just go.
She was like,
and like
awkward.
Exactly, and like for the other guys, her like walkaways was like always her like looking back and like being like, oh, I don't want to leave, and like
She'll
that
be all
moment, she's like,
giggly.
yeah,
Yes, she literally said that to Ivan, right? She's like, oh, I don't want to leave, Ivan. Something like that,
yeah,
right?
exactly. And like
yeah,
then we get to the rose ceremony.
And then he says, in true Ben fashion, I blew it. And I'm like, okay, Ben, again, I think here's another point. This is a perfect opportunity for you to do some more like personal insight. Why do you keep blowing it with women? What, like what's going on?
Like we know it's not your first time. Like what made you think that you were ready this time around?
Yeah. This definitely is not one of those, it's not you, it's me. It's definitely him.
Yeah. Period. Yeah.
Then we get to the rose ceremony, and Tayshia says that hometown towns, were hard, but she's, holding on to the guy's heart, and she really appreciated meeting their families, but she understands that she doesn't just have the responsibility of like supporting the guys' hearts anymore, but also their families. That was what I was trying to get at. It was a weird way of wording it, but that was cute. And guess who gets first rose? Ivan, which is no surprise.
No, he deserved it. Like, oh my god, that was like I said, that was the best hometown.
That was the perfect date. Like perfect.
It was perfect date, perfect conversations. Like, really, like gave a brighter view of like them actually being married. Like,
yeah, I can totally picture Ivan and Tayshia. And even since the beginning, I feel like it's just been very natural between them the whole time. Ivan is, I think he's only 1 year younger than her too. So they have like very close age range.
Yeah, it's literally perfect. I don't want to say perfect, but it seems like it is.
It seems perfect. Then Zach got the second rose, and it was a showdown between Brendan and Ben, which of course Ben was going to go home after all of that. Like that was not a good date. Didn't go well.
Which, and hold on, pause. Even though, you're going to say like Ben ends up going home, but like Brendan always going last, getting the rose last. Last time he got the rose last too. And I don't know if that says something, but like, does that say something?
Does it say something? Was it last time too? Who was it between? Was it between Brendan and Noah?
Brendan, Bennett, and Noah.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't realize that happened again too. He was the first impression rose though, which statistically speaking with bachelorettes, they usually end up marrying or picking their first impression rose in the end.
Exactly.
So but I think Brendan may be an exception due to what we saw from our next week looking ahead clips. It seems like things during the fantasy suite might not go according to plan.
Mm-hmm.
But basically Tayshia, she asks if she can walk out Ben, and the cut to the three guys just standing there alone was so awkward. I was like, what was that for?
They're like, what are they supposed to do? Were they supposed to like high five each other? Like, what was this?
Yeah, they're all like, they all weirdly had their arms out. They're like, well, she takes Ben away. I'm like, what? They all looked so weird just standing there. And well, probably because they're so sweaty because it's like still a million degrees out, even
Yeah,
though it's dark.
exactly.
You know, and Tayshia, she just takes this time to apologize to Ben, and he just seemed really speechless during this.
Yeah. I mean, he again like froze just like he did when he was trying to say like I love you, but like he froze that time too. And like he just
Oh,
and like I feel like Tayshia wanted more out of him. She wanted like the speeches that she got from like all the other guys. And
totally.
like Tayshia just kept saying like she's sorry and like but like there's literally no life in his eyes.
Well, that's what I'm talking about though, by like I think he needs to grow a lot more emotionally. Because I think that, you know, like I've definitely dealt with my own mental health things, and I know that like dissociation and, you know, just being basically shutting down when you're going through something that is, you know, perceived as slightly traumatic or anything like that, that's really normal. And I feel like we've seen Ben kind of do this a few times throughout the season where things get kind of tense, and he does seem like he kind of does shut down a little bit. And I'm like, I like literally no shade to Ben at all. I think he has brought so much wonderful conversation to the show. I think he's been a very needed character to like progress the show into, you know, basically modernizing and having these tough conversations. But I think he has a lot of emotional healing that he still has to do after the dark times that he's faced.
Exactly. And I mean, like to add on to that, like of like how he still has like this emotional trauma that he hasn't really like passed. He said that he doesn't cry and he has like doesn't like just doesn't cry in general. And like even in that moment, some guys do cry like in the car and stuff. And like he just looked dead in the eyes. Like that's what like
Yeah.
kept saying. And I'm like,
He just like shuts
oh
it off instead of feeling it, because you know, willingly feeling that emotional pain, you know, is hard. I get
yeah.
it.
And I mean like he like when he got onto the car and like Tisha was like left there, like she just wanted more out of him because like she didn't want like him to be begging on her like his knees for her, but like she wanted to feel like the past few weeks like weren't just like worthless and that
Yeah.
he just wasn't actually here for the Instagram followers, which I feel like she now believes that.
Yeah.
Which I mean,
And I feel like though, honestly, Tayshia kept trying to put in, and she literally said she's put in so much effort to pull things out of Ben, and it's been so hard to get him to talk about anything. And I felt like the way he reacted to this was further confirmation for her that there was more to the story that he's not sharing. And I seriously do think he has been. I know I said I actually had listened to another recap episode of like a podcast, and I was like, they had talked about how Ben really seems like he's picked and chosen what information he's presented on this season so far, and he's been very specific about what he's been vulnerable about. It's not like Riley where he kind of's given a lot of like overview and like other characters like Zach. I feel like he's really been honest with everything, and there's not felt like there's anything with Zach where there it feels like he's holding more, you know, withholding more. But with Ben, I'm like, there's still more there. Like,
yeah,
why is
we
your
don't really
sister,
know him still. Like you
what
know,
are your
like
parents like?
it seemed like we did. Like honestly, we don't know him. And like I think what proved, like you said, like it proved it more was this situation and how basically and Ben in the car was like, I imagined my whole life with her because I
Yeah.
actually was falling in love with her and like I blew it and like all of the stuff. Like we didn't know you were imagining your life with her. Like she didn't know you were imagining her like the life with her. Like she probably still doesn't know until this episode aired. Like,
And just think about though how if Ben had stayed and Tayshia had taken him through and everything like that to the end, think of how she would feel watching this back, watching it back, seeing that a family friend was like, yeah, you love her. Yeah, you love her. No, you love her. I'd be like, you don't love me. What?
yeah,
You know?
wait, where's this coming from? Yeah. No,
Yeah.
but so that kind of adds on to my theory that I was like, So we were talking earlier about like his Instagram followers, and I was looking at his bio, and his bio says "I love you a lot" or something like that, or "I
It
love you."
does.
And what I keep hearing and what I keep seeing is that in all his Instagram stories, every single day he puts "I love you" because he's emphasizing the "I love you" that he couldn't tell Tasha.
Okay, man, it's a lot easier to type it out than it is to say it. And if you can't say it, it's not true. Just saying that.
Period.
And
There
then
you
he
go.
also tags a body building club and a gym in his bio. And I'm like, okay. And then he says, "You're welcome always." That's his bio. Whereas
Okay.
Brendan doesn't have a bio, and his bio just says Brendan Murray. And then we have Zach.
Just
He
king things right there.
Yeah. And then Zach, he tags what he's the release and recovery that he's the co-founder of, and he says, "Keep
Beautiful.
going." Always an emotional support animal here.
Love him.
And then we have Ivan, and just going over to compare all these bios right now, just while we're at it. Ivan's bio has his age, 28, Dallas, Texas, engineer with a funky face emoji, and investor.
Okay, money moves.
Okay.
Okay, money moves. Okay.
But here's the thing, honestly, I appreciate that kind of posting about money way more than the kind of posting that we see from Bennett, you know?
Yes. He's over here saying like, yeah, I can provide for my wife, but also like I'm humble about it, and I'm just like, yes, hard
Oh my
worker,
God,
we love
okay,
it.
scrolling through Ivan's feed, half the photos are of his mom, which is cute, but at the same time, I will say this, at a certain point, stop being a mommy's boy because you do need to grow up. I will say that. That's one thing.
That's
But
true too.
we love a guy who has a good relationship with his mom.
That's true too.
Means he knows how to respect women. Which is a very needed thing after people like Yeezy and stuff. Oh my God, his mom is giving a peace sign on one of their Instagram account photos. That is so cute.
Oh,
Love. So that's the gist. Going into next week,
fantasy
what
suites.
do we think? Yes, fantasy suites. I have a prediction. Ben's gonna try to come back.
I was gonna say the same thing too. I literally know. I kid you not. I was gonna say that right now. I was literally gonna say that right now. That Ben is gonna come back and he's gonna confess his feelings and be like, "Yeah, no, I'm actually in love with you."
I
And
love you.
he's probably gonna stutter. He's gonna be like, "I love you." I think. I don't know. Let me hit up Antonia quickly.
Let
Do I
me
love her?
check
Yeah.
Antonio to see how to pronounce this. Is it love
Or
with a
is it love with LUV or LOVE? Please help.
Is it love or love?
Like,
Do you have to say I love you? Can you just say love you? Like, does the I, is that necessary?
can I just say ILY? Can I just like do
Illy.
hashtag Ellie?
Oh my God, imagine Ben showing up. He's like, Illy. And she's like, "Are you trying to say I love you?" And he's like, "Yes." And she's like, "Why don't you just say I love you?" And he's like,
I'm emotionally unstable.
"I can't." Yeah. That's gonna be an interesting one. And why do I feel like Brendan is the one that she's crying over leaving?
Okay, so here's the thing. I was saying, like, this is a theory I had before that I think Brendan leaves because he realizes he's not ready for marriage because
Oh,
he's
especially
divorced.
given the fact that he has been married before.
Exactly, like especially that's what I was saying because he's divorced. I feel like she wanted it to be him and she wanted to marry him,
I
and
think so
he
too.
and like he leaves, and I feel like that's what
And
I'm
that's why she's so lost when it comes to the rose ceremony. And that's why she's so like, feels all confused and like unsure. Because it's probably gonna be something where Zach, it seems like he drops a big bomb on Ivan, but maybe like the chemistry wasn't there with Ivan, so she can't commit to him and she just really wants Brendan, but like, and something came up with Zach that makes her not want him. Oh my God. I feel like I could see this happening.
I feel like my theory really becoming true right now.
Yeah. Dude, okay, but seriously, how do we think the Ivan thing's gonna go with the fantasy suite?
I feel like obviously all of them they have their reservations of like, oh god, like
Of getting
sleeping
married
with.
and getting proposed. None of them are ready.
Yeah, exactly. There's that. And then also like basically a couple days before you get married, you're sleeping with another guy. Like there's those reservations, obviously, but like I don't know. Like I don't know.
The one thing that Ivan and Tasha, I feel like have been lacking this entire season has been the sexual chemistry. Tasha's makeouts with like Zach, definitely. I feel like there's chemistry there. The, paint with the shower, I was like, okay, in the, looking ahead, like preview. But Ivan, I feel like, have we really seen like any passionate makeout? Like we've seen them having a lot of fun. We saw
Yeah,
them doing their games, having a really good talk on, being biracial, having those conversations. But really, I feel like we've seen just a lot of conversations.
exactly. Which I mean is good, but then also like
But
I don't
also,
know.
like, are they
It's
going to get to the fantasy suite and realize it's just kind of friend energy?
yeah, exactly.
Because I feel like if that's what happened, okay, fantasy suites for Ivan will be a major make or break, I think. It
I think
depends
so
on the
too.
chemistry. Because could, it's so hard. I'm trying to just think of what our final one, what we think's going to happen for final order here.
I was reading this somewhere. I was like, literally, the final three has been the best final three of all Bachelorette history. It's like
Totally.
these guys are amazing.
And everyone's been able to count this down too. Like these have been like the predictable ones since Tasha's season or since Claire's season. We've all been like, these are the people we all like. It's been Zach, Ben, Brendan, Ivan since the beginning.
Yeah,
And it's still them. And they're still like a true, like a solid group of guys.
like I don't know. I feel like right now top two, like because then there's that chance of Ben coming back too. Like, is he gonna be in the rose ceremony again? Like,
He
are we
comes
gonna?
back and replaces Brendan because Brendan leaves.
Then there's that. But then I still feel like I don't think that she's gonna end up with Ben though.
And I don't think she's gonna end up with Ben at all. I don't see them having like the like relationship. They don't have the groundwork. The
Yeah.
foundation isn't there. I could see her dad having a potential issue with Zach's history and Zach's family being, older and things like that. Mind you, Tasha's dad is very young. He's 45, she mentioned, I think, not even 50. And meanwhile, Zach's parents are old. Like Zach's brother is like 50.
Yeah.
Like Zach's parents are grandparents. So her dad, and then partnered with maybe seeing, hearing the story of like Zach had cancer and Zach, Zach's also been married before and Zach struggled with drugs and,
Wait,
things
Zach's
like
been
that.
married before?
Yeah, he got married. His drugs was what ended
wait,
his marriage.
yeah, I got you. I remember.
Yeah, but I'm like,
DUI.
Yeah, he got a DUI. I could totally though see her dad, how her dad said, don't make the biggest mistake of your life.
Yeah.
I feel like just upon first glance at maybe Zach's situation, her dad could be speaking of him, being like, this upon first glance at surface level does not look like someone you want to marry and spend your life with.
Mm-hmm. Once you like get to know them and stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, it's true. Look at surface level, just face level Zach. This guy, was addicted to drugs and for years has been married, ruined, like has cheated. Apparently only in 6th grade, but I don't know. But you know what I mean.
I feel like there's another time when
I feel like
the
it
partying
happened with
days.
when he was doing the whole crazy drug partying phase when he was married. I feel like he
Yeah.
secretly cheated on his wife and he didn't disclose that.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like Zach might also have some stuff that like he's not completely being out there with.
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be interesting going into next week. And next week we have another double episode. So we'll do another double episode recap.
So do we have any final two predictions? I literally have no idea. But we should just say one just
literally
in
no
case.
clue. We've just spitballed so many things. We just spitballed Brendan leaving and Ben replacing him, and her, having poor chemistry with Ivan in fantasy suites, and oh my gosh, there's a lot here.
I'm gonna say Ivan and Zach.
Ivan and Zach for top 2.
Yeah.
And so who do we think wins?
I don't know. I literally have no idea. No clue. I literally have no clue.
I could personally see a relationship blossoming better between Tayshia and Ivan in terms of the fact that they both can relate on the biracial aspect. And I know that's a huge thing, just like being biracial and not feeling understood, and like being biracial, and especially like being like a biracial Black person and like being with a white person. I know that there, sometimes that can cause more tension, and especially just because there's a lack of understanding. And so I feel like that's why I see something really working well and beautifully and naturally between Ivan and Tayshia. But I feel like Tayshia is great and flexible, and she would do great with anybody.
That's the thing. Like, that's like not only Tayshia, but like these guys too, except Ben. But like, it's just they're all so great. They all bring so many good things to the plate, and like that's why, like, I mean, I know that in like other Bachelor seasons, like I kind of had a good predictions, but like literally I'm so lost. Like it could
I don't have a
anyone.
top 1 prediction. I don't have a final rose prediction that like I feel confident on.
No.
It really is going to determine, it's going to be seeing fantasy suites and seeing how that goes, and seeing how the Brendan and Ben thing is handled. That's going to be the determining factor next week, and seeing what Tayshia's very opinionated father has to say about these men.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. So we will talk about all of that next week on
here for the
Instagram followers.
Here for the Instagram followers. Yeah.
Bachelorette recap.
There we go. So that's our kind of final 1. Any predictions? That's all of it. That's all our tea spilling. That's it for today's episode. We'll see you guys next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.